Welcome to part two. I'm joined by Julian. Can you hear me, pal? All right, mate.
Yeah, I'm here now, mate. We're back on.
I don't know what happened there, mate.
It's all right.
A few tech issues. We always get sorted. We'll start doing something different to that. Dom Ingle. I gave him a bit of stick on here. He's been around the game years. He's a bit of a stalwart. He looks like he's not got nobody at the moment, doesn't he? Who's he training?
Well, I know Dom well. I've not seen him for 3 or 4 years since I was, used to go down there, but I've always got on with Dom. And I do wonder, I mean, I know he's not got the fighters that he used to have. I don't know who he's got at the moment, but you wonder if after doing something for so long, you lose the heart. Sometimes you're out of favour as well with certain fighters. Sometimes there's politics involved. And I know he's not your cup of tea, but sometimes Dom rattles people's cages as well.
Listen, the only reason it's not my cup of tea is this. He's had 3 fighters fail dope tests on his watch. And he's walking about. He looks like an advertisement for steroids because he's an ex-bodybuilder, isn't he? Well, obviously, we know what bodybuilders take, don't we? So I have a problem with that because I said, if anybody in his gym fails a 4th test, is he going to hand his licensing? That's the first issue I've got with him. The second issue I've got with him, when they're going to put shows on. You're always having a little dig about shows and that. Put your hand in your pocket. You've had millions out of the job. Third issue I've got with him, he's doing interviews every day with a policeman who owns Boxing King Media. Now, I don't think policemen should be involved in boxing. We have enough of them with border control dictating. So why are they doing interviews with policemen? Obviously, somebody who we know said to me, "Oh, you've been a bit harsh there. He's a bit harmless." He's a copper at the end of the day. But that gully guy who had the artwork problem, whatever, that's not my problem. But why are these people in the sport of boxing? There's enough problems with board with them. So that's 3 issues I've got with him. But it's like the old saying, innit? You run with foxes. Do you know what I mean? That's the issues I've got with him. And Dom, you're more than welcome to come down here anytime you want if you've got a problem with what I've just said. And I'll tell it to your face. Unlike other people in industry that'll tiptoe around you. All right? Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Like that kid.
But he's always been all right with me. And
that's okay. Well, fair enough then.
Absolutely.
So, but who's he got now? You're trying to dig Kell Brook up for Conor Benn to get a few quid. You should be embarrassed after everything he said about Kell Brook when Kell went to Fuki. I had Fuki down here. I interviewed Fuki about 4 years ago, I think, when Kell left him. After everything you said, what happened? When there's a few quid on table, you went and had Kell back. And you're now still trying to dig him up for Conor Benn fight. So don't talk about what's right and what's wrong on a copper's YouTube channel. Pop, pop, bang.
Well, that's not a good fight.
Sorry if that's harsh.
No, that's not a good fight for Kell Brook. Kell Brook needs to enjoy his retirement. What a fantastic career he's had. He's had ups and downs, but he's had a lot more ups than he's had downs. He finished, albeit there were 2 old men creaking around the ring, but he hammered Amir Khan. And I have to say, I took a lot of enjoyment from watching that, if I'm being completely honest. And not because I don't like Khan. I've met Khan several times. He's a nice kid. I took enjoyment from that because you could see he was really dismissed, wasn't he, by Khan throughout his career. Like, you're not in my league, pal. And it bothered him. It bothered Kell Brook. And you could see the exhilaration when he stopped Khan. It was like all his omens and all his demons and everything have been put to bed. Now, what we don't want, Kell, we don't want you creaking out of retirement for some young kid unloading his hands on you, whether you think he'll beat him or not, Russell. That's not a good fight for Kell Brook, because I'd argue that no fight's a good fight for Kell Brook right now.
Listen, Kell Brook were patched up to fight Amir Khan, and there were no left of Amir Khan, were there?
Khan's balance and everything. I mean, you remember, I get a few wrong, but I said Brook will beat Khan within 6 rounds. He was shot to bits. His punch resistance was gone. His balance, his equilibrium was gone. Everything was gone with Khan. So Kell Brook, do not get giddy on that victory over Khan. you were beating a punch bag, mate, who had no resistance, no nothing. You nearly knocked him out with jabs several times. Walk away. You got the satisfaction of knowing the guy who haunted you since your schoolboy years. You got revenge on him. You don't need to do anything else in boxing, and you certainly don't need to give a little shitty upstart like Conor Benn a name on his record.
Listen, Dom Ingle's a mercenary as regards money. And like I've said before, and I'll say it again, if he's got a problem, come and tell me to my face, and I'll tell you what I think.
But is Dom Ingle any different to anybody else in boxing?
No, he isn't. But and this is the problem I'm coming to now. Not everybody's like that, but what would happen if Kell Brook got injured against Conor Benn? Because, sooner or later, touch wood, it doesn't happen. There's going to be a disaster soon.
Definitely.
And everybody's going to play the blame game and say, well, they passed the medical, they were signed off to fight. They're all going to give it that one. Yeah. These trainers need to have a look at themselves. And these strength and conditioners hanging around Kell Brook, telling him, you can just eat steak. I'm eating steak. Remember, it wouldn't cost to Kell Brook telling somebody I know, I'm eating steak. They've got me eating steak. Listen, don't be bought in by these strength and conditioners. Listen to your trainer or your fighters out there. These strength and conditioners get gone out the sport of boxing. You're not needed. If you're any good, you'd be working in football.
He would. As you know, I've had 2 fighters leave my house in tears because I've told them you're done. It ain't there anymore.
Exactly.
No injuries on my watch, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. I agree with you.
I've got a quick one.
Go on, sorry, go on.
I know you've got a point, just a quick one. I know we've covered the Dubois Usyk thing left, right, and center.
Yeah.
I've not watched all the social media stuff that you've been watching, but the trend that I've noticed, so I've heard Caldwell, Froch, Tony Bellew, etc.
All spoke well, all of them.
And I've noticed a little trend. Now, there'll be an exception to the rule, but generally...
Jamie Moore spoke good as well.
Jamie Moore. There's a north-south divide on this.
Right.
With all the southern trainers hanging out the back of Frank Warren and Dubois, all saying it was a legal shot, and then we've got everybody else like northern
Paul Smith, Liam Smith.
Yeah, we've got
John Gallagher.
All these northern fighters saying, no, that was an illegal blow, which actually it was, as you know. And I just wondered if you thought there was a little north-south divide on this matter.
Yeah, I do, because, and let me speak, I'm going to speak properly here, and it's not what I want to say to his face. Somebody sent me something. Mark Tibbs said that it was a legal shot. Well, Mark Tibbs was very close friends with Martin Bowers, isn't he? Right, who's a nice bloke. I've met Martin, he's bang on.
Yeah.
But I don't agree with you, but they're going to go into bat for their fighter. I don't know Mark Tibbs' opinion on it to say to my face, and if he told me in confidence, I wouldn't say anyway. If Mark said that, that's his opinion. But when you're mates with people that are down there, sometimes you just have to go with flow, and like his dad's mates with Bricktop in here and all that. So maybe they have to play the game. I understand that. But me, I like to remain neutral. All right? And I'll say my bit. If people don't like it, F off. That's my opinion on it. And none of that arse kissing. I'm not saying Mark Tibbs is an arse kisser, but if he said that, in my opinion, he's playing the game. Because people keep saying, your big mate Mark Tibbs said this. They're playing the game, that's what they're going to do. But I heard Joe Gallagher on 5 Live with Colin Murray, and he spoke bang on about it. Eddie Hearn, he's from down there, but he's not Team Bricktop, is he?
No, he's not Team Bricktop, is he?
He said, hey, quit. Bellew's Team Matchroom. Why can't these people just have an opinion and look at the facts and the position of the fists and look how many rounds the kid won? Look, if you put that kid in with Usyk again, he'll never be the same fighter again.
No, I reckon.
But they don't want to put him in with somebody like David Adelaide or Fabio Wardley because he might get took out. So they want to get the Usyk money while they can because that chance may never come. The kid might just say, do you know what? I'm done and walk. Because he's a young 25 up here. Like a 14-year-old, isn't it? Let's have it right. Yeah. Come on.
Love the kid, but you gotta have your courage of conviction and you gotta say it as it is, haven't you?
Yeah. Huey, it's about time Huey had a fight now, isn't it? Do you think? Because he's been out at ring a long time now, isn't it? What's going on there? Do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if it's Sky.
Is he hard to match?
I don't know if it's Hugh himself. I don't know if it's Sky. But what I do know is you can't keep a kid in the gym forever. I know he had a rest, but I think he's been back a few months. Anthony Peter said he'd been back. He's looking good. But you can't just keep a kid in the gym with no goal and with no momentum and no focus. Because
I want to see Huey back because he's looking well and he's put a bit
I don't care who he fights. I don't care.
See him in ring.
Give him a knockover job. Everybody's afraid to. People get hammered now if you fight somebody no one's ever heard of. Fight somebody, but fight every 6 weeks, every 8 weeks for a little bit of hit money, a little bit of change. It doesn't matter. You know, why is he not on this weekend? Why is Huey not on this weekend? Just on a knockover job, a little 6-rounder. What's happened to boxers?
I think what it is, Peter won't kiss ass, will he? He's not one of them type of guys, is he?
No, he won't.
If they want Huey on the show, they'll put him on a show and they'll pay for the opponent to send. But there's something not right about why he's not getting on Sky. There's something not right about it, and it needs sorting, doesn't it? Because he's just, what is he, 29 in a couple of weeks.
Well, Sky Boxing's been an epic disappointment the last 6 to 2. There was moments and glimmers of promise, wasn't there, that they were going to give Matchroom and Queensbury a real run for the money.
They're not done.
Massive disappointment. And Ben Shalom needs to get gone because I thought he was a breath of fresh air again, like Simon Jordan. And they're just proving to be huge disappointments. These both.
Who's the captain of the ship at Sky now? Bean's gone. Eddie Hilser's gone. So is Johnny Nelson going to step over the dead body for the big seat? And who's gonna promote it? Is Johnny good enough to be an Eddie? I don't think so. Ben Shalom's a damp squib, in my opinion, aka Adrian Mole, aka Benny from Crossroads. So it's very disappointing. They put on. Right, did Ben Shalom put 5 shows on as boxer and then get the Sky gig? How does that work? How does that work? Him getting that gig after 5 of his own shows where Carl Greaves basically had to hold his hand matching them. How has that worked? Tell me.
We need to, as you say, just in the old days, you know, when fighters were on Friday fight night, you got various promoters who all had dates, didn't they? Eddie had dates, Maloney had dates, everybody had a date on Sky and they mixed it and matched. Why do we have to have one promotional outfit putting on all these shows? It's like a awful watered down version of the UFC. Let's just say, okay, we got 25 dates for boxing. Mick Hennessy, you get 5, right? Carl Greaves, you get 3. We're going to give you some funding to put a couple of British titles on your shows.
Steffi, give him a couple.
Give Steffi a couple. Steffi Bullock, give a bit of variety because you know
what? Give Big Ron 1.
People aren't bothered about seeing the big names all the time. People just love to see a good fight. They really do. And sometimes there's fun in watching fighters come through who you've never heard of and watch them grow or watch them fail. But no, unless it's they've almost got this agenda of Sky now, haven't they? They've become very politically correct. They're really pushing the Price and you know, the two girls, the partners. They're really pushing them. They're pushing women's boxing hugely, and I'm going to be very careful how I say this, which is
why women boxing shit.
Well, it's not always a great spectacle, is it? Let's be honest. And these,
holy crap,
it's just for ticking boxes' sake. It's pretty poor.
There's an handful of fighters we can watch that are women, isn't there? They're any good.
Let's put the ABAs on. Let's put the development novice championships on. Let's have a bit of something new for people to watch, because we all saw the Gary Masons and the Frank Brunos come up through the ABAs and became household names on the BBC by as amateurs. We got to know them as amateurs. Why ain't this stuff on? Why are we not watching proper boxing? And otherwise, we just have to see some of these garbage bills on Sky, just 6-round knockovers. Awful.
Yeah, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It does, honestly. What did you think about Tommy Frank fighting the gold medalist Olympian. What do you think to that, Jules?
I've no issue with a fight like that low down a bill. If it's he's a gold medalist, I get that. But it was a bad match. It was a horrific match.
We're talking the Olympic gold medalist with 4 fights in an headliner like that. I mean, crowd were like, is that it? It was like the show were a wet fart, basically, from what I've heard.
It was totally different to Adam Hamid's fight. But what I'm saying is,
Adam Hamid, oh my God, in with colouring books. Where did they get him from? 17-year-old?
Yeah, from kindergarten. But what I'm saying is that both were massive mismatches. I appreciate one was 17 and one was a novice who'd never boxed. Hamid was a novice who'd never boxed. But we didn't see massive shots landing either of those shots. I don't think Hamid landed any punches, but even to me, Yafai, he never landed any massive solid shots, did he? There were few fast shots, few shots around the side of the head, the back of the head, and the knockdown wasn't massively conclusive. And it was a bad match. It was a terrible main event. And I don't know. It was just an awful match, mate.
Yeah. We're going to step over the pond. Wilder, when's he going to have a fight?
Oh, this is becoming. I keep seeing things now about Ruiz calling him out again. I thought he'd stepped out of that eliminator. It's boring. It's boring. We're in September on Friday, as we've just said. The last time Wilder boxed was obviously Robert Hilarious, whatever you call him. I mean, is this it? Is he? You could argue whatever happened, right? Okay, different question, but whatever happened to dropping fighters from the rankings who were inactive?
Well, that's what I want to know. What BoxRec do it after 12 months, don't they? If you're not fought in 12 months, they take you out of their rankings, don't they?
So when did Wilder last fight? When did he fight that guy, the Viking?
John Wilder. I think it was Hilarious, wasn't it, last year? Let's have a look.
Yeah, he dined him out with one shot, didn't he?
He's not active enough for me, Wilder. He's knocking on a bit
used
now.
to be
He's
something.
knocking on.
I can't remember which organisation it was, but there used to be something where fighters got dropped for inactivity. I think Conor Benn got
10 months. He's not fought for 10.5 months, nearly 11 months.
So but he's not got a fight scheduled either, has he? So has he retired? Is that it? Do you know, we keep talking about Wilder and Joshua.
And Fury.
And everybody. Are these fighters even fighters, or are they just semi-retired?
Well, do you know Ali? Muhammad Ali were very active, wasn't he, in his pod? But don't forget, they stripped him for 3.5 years, didn't they? And he was still active, wasn't he, when he came back? He was very, very active. He believed that you keep your tools sharp, Ali, didn't he?
He did, and he came back, didn't he, against Quarry, straight away into a hard fight like that. 1969, 70, whatever it was. And he came back into a hard fight like that. But I talk about activity all the time, but this lack of activity now is just becoming, it's actually quite painful, isn't it? It's painful to watch because all we do is talk about Usyk, Fury, Wilder, and Joshua. And up until recently, Joshua's not been active. He's had a couple of fights this year. When was his last fight? December. And now he's fighting a guy, the irony, I keep seeing Mike Tyson pop up with Ngannou on YouTube. Mike Tyson's actually learning him how to box. The irony in the guy can't even box. He's been taught how to box and he's fighting the best heavyweight in the world, we think, in October.
Well, it's 2 years since Wilder and Fury fought for the 3rd time. And in that period, Fury has fought White and Chisora. And now he's going to fight Ngannou, and that's like his 2-year up since Wilder. And that's it. And then he's going to be next summer, isn't it, for Fury? And it could be it could be Ngannou again. So it could be Christmas, October, November, December 2024, bearing him going on a bender or an injury before he actually does anything with belts. So why don't they just take it off him now? Because it's going to be over another year if he rematches Ngannou. Let Ruiz and Wilder fight for him. Why don't the WBC show some gonads like I do on this channel?
Probably because the percentage and commission they'll get from Fury fighting versus, I don't know, let's just pick up two obscure heavyweights who, you know, could fight for that belt. Or you could argue Wilder and Ruiz, but when have they last boxed? So who are you going to get to fight for the vacant belt? How much they're going to make out of that? I don't know. It's greed, isn't it? They've done the maths, they've done the calculations, they've been promised some big fights going forward, and that'll do them. And who knows if they've even had a few quid out of the job anyway, you know. Yeah. We don't know, do we?
Coming up this weekend, we've got pay-per-view fight, Liam Smith against Chris Eubank. I've seen the videos, I've got them on here. Nobody at the workout today. Hardly anybody there. What do you think is going on here with this? Do you think nobody, because it's hardly advertised, not getting a lot of airtime, is it? Do you think that people are saying, do you know what, first one we're a damp squib and we're not buying into this one? Do you think the public are voting with their feet?
I think so. I've not decided what's going to happen in this house in terms of, Kelsey was on about watching it, but I think he's off to his mates now. It's not an attractive, sexy fight, is it? Because one fighter has dominated the other. And even though, you know, some of us thought Eubank might edge that fight, the reality is this. Chris Eubank Jr.'s career has been a massive disappointment. Yeah. Liam Smith was a world-class fighter. I'm not really sure if that's the case anymore. But when you've had one fighter dominate another, we've had that much hot air from Eubank. The way I like Eubank Jr., but the way he talks with this superiority complex, like he really is, you know, the second coming, you know, of like Carlos Monzon. If you listen to how he talks, you think, you know what, this guy's unbelievable. But the reality is when you watch him, he's not that great. No. He's been beaten, he's been exposed several times. And what do we do with him now? It's like, we're tired of it now. The one thing that you did trade off in the last fight, looking pain there, mate. The one thing that you did trade off in your last fight was your chin and your durability. And you can't even trade off that now. And I think the 157 definitely affected him. And I think Smith's got his number. I don't think he'll blow him away as quickly, by the way, this weekend. I think it'll be a longer, more drawn-out fight. But I expect Smith to just be a little bit too solid and too good on the basics, is Smith. But it's not a fight that's going to get our blood flowing through our veins, is it? It's just not. It's not, you know, Hagler Simpson, is it? Or anything like that. It's not going to get us pumped up, isn't this fight? It's not even Mark Taylor, Tony Simpson. It's just not. It's an average fight with a pretty average undercard.
Mark Taylor, Errol Christie got us all pumped up, didn't it?
I've been watching some of the old classic British fights, and I watched Frankie Lucas and Tony Simpson last night. That was for the British title, 1974. That was unbelievable action, was that? Absolute war.
Who was that?
Frankie Lucas against Tony Simpson. Have you not seen it?
What year was that?
1974.
Well, Tony Simpson fought, yeah, Tony Simpson fought Alan Minter, didn't he? Leicester kid, didn't he?
He beat Alan Minter, yeah, in 3 rounds.
And he fought Hagler as well, didn't he, Tony Simpson?
That was Marvin Hagler at his absolute menace.
Hagler busted him up, didn't he? Busted him up, didn't he?
Simpson had some great fights. He had a brilliant fight with a kid called John Collins who was like 34-0, and Tony did him in 2. And then he had a great fight with Dangerous Don Lee. He got knocked out by Dangerous Don Lee. But Simpson, I'll send you the link. Seriously, if anybody's not seen, Sky Sports re-showed it a few years ago, and there's a YouTube video of it on. If you've not seen Tony Simpson against Frankie Lucas, and Frankie Lucas was a hard man. He was a southpaw. He was a big puncher. He was known outside the ring as being a real kind of known guy. And Lucas was the champion, and Simpson, it was the day after his 21st birthday. And Tony was there with his velvet shorts, big white socks pulled up to his knees. I won't tell you the result. I won't give you a spoiler, but it's as good a fight as I've seen in years, mate. So anybody who thinks we've got rose-tinted glasses, have a look, watch Tony Simpson against Frankie Lucas, and you realise why we talk so romantically about that era. Unbelievable.
Who was your top 5 fighters of all time
Oh, bloody hell. You've asked me a question. Right. I'm going to say in no particular order, and I'm going to miss fighters out, and I absolutely don't mean to do this. I think you've got to have Ray Robinson and Henry Armstrong. They have to be in everybody's top two. How can you omit those guys? Sam Langford. I think Sam Langford's got to be up there. I think Willie Pep has got to be somewhere in that mix. I think Ali, just for accomplishments, not pound for pound, but Ali for accomplishments. I would say Robinson, Armstrong, Pep, Langford, and Ali in any order you want.
We've all passed away, all of them. May they rest in peace.
Anybody who's saying Sam Langford, unbelievable fighter. I think he moved all the way from lightweight to heavyweight, and he terrified people. I think at the time it was Jack Johnson who really didn't fancy the fight. I can't remember, but brilliant fighter. Henry Armstrong, of course, simultaneously was the featherweight, lightweight, and welterweight undisputed champion of the world. Imagine holding 3 belts at the same time, making 9-4 and making 10-7. And so Armstrong, and I might have even missed out Archie Moore. You might have to have Archie Moore.
I'm going to say Archie Moore, the mongo, Spencer Fearon's relative. Big Malk, you always go on about Archie Moore as if he's like your long lost uncle or something. You're always throwing Archie Moore stats out. Well, they say, don't they, that Bricktop shoulder rolls better than Archie Moore, the mongo. It makes the Mongols look tame, doesn't it? You know, Bricktop with weeping eye.
I think Ray Robinson, at one point, I think he was 121-1 or something. It was something insane.
Did who is it gave him his first defeat? The Raging Bull.
Jake LaMotta beat him. He beat him in a 10-rounder, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think it might have been the second fight between those two. I forget, they had 5, didn't they? And this shows how boxing.
I wanted 6, 5 or 6, wasn't it?
I think they had 5. I think the last one was the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, wasn't it? Whereas the referee almost like Robinson killing. It was a savage beating over 13 rounds on St. Valentine's Day, of course. Robinson, just unbelievable fighter. He would have been a light heavyweight champion, but against Joey Maxim. But of course, the heat. He was just past the heat was exhausting. That they had to. It was so hot that night they had to change referees halfway through the fight. The referee passed out during that fight. So Robinson was brilliant fighter. People always talk about Robinson. You know this stuff, mate. But people always talk about Robinson as being one of the greatest middleweights of all time. But Robinson was actually did his best work at welterweight, and that was it. Yeah. And then he just chalked up a few losses as a middleweight when he was slightly past his best, albeit he certainly avenged a lot of those. But Robinson
did he fight Carmen Basilio and lose?
I think he fought Basilio, twice or 3 times, and
didn't he nearly beat somebody at light heavyweight who were really good as well?
I think it was Joey Maxim, and I think he just got exhausted. It was, like I said, it was so hot. But as a welterweight, it was absolutely brilliant. His record was unbelievable. I think if you give you a top 10 and I'd change it every single time you ask me, I have to have a prime lightweight Roberto Duran somewhere in the top 10. I just have to have it up there. But let's not forget Tyson Fury, the greatest of all time, Russell.
For doing what? For beating Vladimir, over 40, Wilder, 2 of them life and death, and
John McDermott.
John McDermott. Well, listen, if you want to dig him out, John McDermott, Otto Wallin, they could have gone other way. Steve Cunningham's stoppage were illegal. He's had Robert Green, Tyson all the way through, hasn't he, really, when you think about it?
That happens.
Then the drug testing issues, no happened with that, did it?
Clearly, I'm being ludicrous. At the end of his career, I might have him in the top 15 best heavyweights of all time, but he's got a bit of work to do, hasn't he?
Got a bit of work to do. He's got to deal with Joshua. He's got to deal with Usyk, and he's got to deal with some from next generation because Ali.
Agree.
Let me just tell you about Ali. Floyd Patterson, 1956, gold medalist. Ali, 1960, gold medalist. Fraser, 64, gold medalist. Foreman, 68, gold medalist. The 72 gold medalist was a Cuban, so he couldn't fight him, but he sparred him and schooled him. 76, Spinks, he fought him twice, didn't he?
Yep.
And 1980, they boycotted, didn't it? Olympics in Moscow.
Yeah.
Moscow. So Ali went from 56 guys from that era all the way through. He didn't just hover around one little tiny 4 or 5 year period. So for me, Tyson Fury's got a lot of work. In fact, I don't even think there's enough years left for him to make it up to be in that mix. That's what I think.
I'm being silly. I mean, I'm in exactly the same position. So what I will say as well, for anybody who, when we're talking about the great heavyweight champions, we're not always talking about man for man, are we? Because clearly, you know, Tyson Fury at 6'9" and 20 stone had beaten
Not
Jack
6'9", 6'7".
6'7". He'd have beaten Jack Dempsey in all likelihood, who was like 190 pounds and 6 foot. But that's irrelevant. When we talk about greatness, we talk about your CV, your longevity, your biggest wins, overcoming adversity, which he has done. We talk about a combination of many things. So when we talk about that, ultimately, Joe Louis was one of the greatest heavyweights who's ever lived. It was way, way greater than Tyson Fury will ever be. He was 25 defenses in 10.5 years, but ultimately Joe Louis was 6'1" and he was 13 stone 10. So we have to be realistic before anybody jumps in and says he wouldn't have beat Fury. We're talking about great fighters here. We're not talking about necessarily man for man, although man for man, and I got hammered, and I'll say it before again, and I don't care. Man for man, Lennox Lewis would have pulverized Tyson Fury.
Oh, Lennox Lewis, did he fight? Did Lennox Lewis beat Mike Weaver, didn't he? Were he in 76 Olympics? I think he was. I'm not sure.
Beat Mike Weaver when Weaver was, obviously Weaver was past his best, but yeah. I remember it was a big, long right hander.
But going back though, Lennox fought Olympians, didn't he? Beat Ray Mercer.
Biggs, he stopped Tyrell Biggs in 3 rounds early on.
Ray Mercer.
Yeah, so he beat some really good.
Vitally Klitschko.
And who can forget the number? I mean, Gary Mason was like 30-0 when Lennox gave him a real beating, didn't he? Was it for the British European Commonwealth?
I don't think Vitally went to Olympics though. Did he get banned for drugs?
That's right. Yeah.
Older brother who went.
Vladimir won gold, didn't he? Vitally, I think, won the world championships. I think he was a world amateur champion. But
Lennox's CV is good.
Yeah, and Lennox's CV is good. Yeah, he got knocked out twice. Sometimes that happens. He came back. He avenged those defeats. You just look at who he beat, the likes of Holyfield. We know Tyson was past his best, but if you think of like the 3 fighters often overlooked who Lennox beat. First of all, Razor Ruddock was red hot when Lennox wiped him out. He'd give Tyson life and death twice. He'd got 19 rounds with Tyson in both those fights. Lennox wiped him out when nobody wanted to touch Razor Ruddock. He also destroyed Andy Gallotta. Gallotta was a real handful. He was putting a beating on Riddick Bowe twice. And also overlooked often is when Lennox beat David Tua. I mean, David Tua was an absolute savage, wasn't he? Who was knocking people out left, right, and centre. And Lennox, he never even got close to Lewis. So Lewis's CV is a great CV, and I don't really care what anybody says.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. We'll finish off on this one then. Callum Smith is fighting Beterbiev at end of January. Do you think that fight is getting away from us more than ever?
That's a long way off, isn't it? I know, is it Beterbiev who's got some kind of injury or some rehab he needs?
Why don't Callum Smith fight somebody else then, just to keep active, keep his tools sharp?
Because it's what I said to you after Beterbiev beat Anthony Yard. I said it's the Anthony Yard syndrome. You have a big fight, okay, and then you sit around and wait 12 months to 18 months for another big fight, and you might have an easy tune-up in between. But no one now is prepared to keep active, are they? They just sit.
What about all these roadman killers that they're going to fight? They were all going to emulate Carl Froch. Carl Froch said to me years and years ago, I'm going to set a precedent. with the people I fight when I win the title. And he did, right? And nobody's followed him. He wanted to follow like Manny Pacquiao, Mayweather, and fight hard fight after hard fight after hard fight. So where are these Brits that are going to do that? Joshua hasn't done it. Fury hasn't done it. Where are they? Callum Smith didn't do it. Where are these fighters from UK who are world champions who are going to have these fights continuously? Stop wasting training camps and test yourselves. Cowards!
They're not competitors, and they're not chasing legacy, they're just chasing dollars. And whilst that's right for them, it's not right for the sport, is it?
No, it ain't, and it winds me up. But hey ho, well listen, we've had a good chat. It's 20 past 10 and I'm off. It's been a long day for me today, 16, 17 hours.
It's a long day, mate.
Long day for us all. Well listen, you take care, Jules. Thanks for coming on.
Anytime, buddy. See you soon.
I'll let you get off for your cocoa now or your holidays.
I'll reappear some other time, mate. You take care.
Go on then, you pompous. See you, pal.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
mate.
Well, that was Julian. I hope you enjoyed that. I think that's about it, really. I think I'm going to do one more video for this month, and I'm going to do it in the morning with this when I walk my dogs. And that'll be 150 for a month. Gary at Welcome Estates, I remember you saying to me in Spain, you need to do 90 a month, Porky. But 90 a month? What with that welcome ad on at the beginning? Drive people crazy, wouldn't it? Imagine if we'd have done it 150, guys. Imagine how many sales of them villas you'd have got. Okie dokie, but been an hard month for me. We've got stuck in. Just show you that you can achieve things if you put your mind to it. You keep yourself sober. Does that mean now that I can go out and get out of my brains now in September? No, it don't. So I'm enjoying training actually, but nice to get Julian on again, the reappearing man. Where's my thumbnail of Eddie Hills and Crusher Ben? Thought you were sending it me. Get these videos out, get them all done. We'll get this month wrapped up then. Okay, okay. I don't think I'll put these out tonight because there's been too many gone out tonight. There's a lot for you to look at. I think we'll get it out tomorrow because I am shattered. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for liking and subscribing, leaving a comment. I believe in speaking from here. Sometimes we are a bit ruthless. Sometimes I'm a bit ruthless, should I say. Not so much Julian. Just that I don't put up with any of this nonsense that I see. People making out the things they're not in boxing. And well, you've heard, haven't you? So, but I think we'll have a thumbnail of Flex on. What do you reckon? Do you like the thumbnail, Flex? Mr. Irrelevant. You know where I am, Flex? Come see me. All right. Bring some celery if you come. Peace out.